A man spends 30 years working hard. He earns promotions. His income grows. He buys a bigger house, a newer car, a more expensive lifestyle. From the outside, he looks successful. Then one unexpected crisis arrives. A job loss, a market crash, a health emergency, and suddenly everything begins to fall apart. Meanwhile, another person earning far less lives in a modest home drives an ordinary car and rarely attracts attention. Yet when difficult times arrive, he remains calm. His savings are intact. His investments continue growing. His family feels secure. One person looked wealthy. The other actually was. And that single difference reveals one of the most important truths about money. Money is not just about earning. It's about thinking. It's about behavior. It's about the decisions we make when nobody is watching. And according to one of the most influential personal finance books ever written, most financial success has very little to do with intelligence and a lot to do with psychology. Today, we're exploring the powerful lessons from The Psychology of Money, lessons that can completely change the way you think about wealth, success, risk, and financial freedom. The first lesson is surprisingly simple. Everyone has a different relationship with money. Think about your own life. The way you view money today didn't appear out of nowhere. It was shaped by your experiences. Perhaps you grew up in a family where every expense had to be carefully planned. Perhaps your parents struggled financially and constantly worried about bills. Or maybe you grew up in a comfortable environment where money rarely seemed like a problem. These experiences become part of us. They influence how we save, how we spend, how much risk we're willing to take, and how we define financial success. This explains why two intelligent people can completely disagree about money. One person sees investing as opportunity. Another sees investing as danger. One person saves aggressively. Another prefers to enjoy money today. Neither person is necessarily irrational. They're simply responding to different experiences. One of the biggest mistakes people make is judging others' financial decisions without understanding their background. The truth is that everyone is playing a different financial game based on the experiences that shaped them. Now let's move to one of the most powerful ideas in the entire book. Most people spend their lives trying to look wealthy. Very few spend their lives becoming wealthy. There is a huge difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is visible. Wealth is invisible. Rich is the luxury car. Rich is the expensive watch. Rich is the large house. Rich is what people can see. But wealth is something entirely different. Wealth is the money that wasn't spent. Wealth is the investment account. Wealth is the emergency fund. Wealth is financial security. Wealth is freedom. A person driving a luxury vehicle may be burdened with debt. Another person driving an ordinary vehicle may quietly possess substantial assets. The problem is that society constantly rewards appearances. People admire what they can see, but real wealth often remains hidden. The book reminds us that true wealth is not measured by spending. It is measured by what remains after spending. The money you keep is often more important than the money you earn. And that brings us to another lesson many people overlook. Most people focus on returns. Few focus on savings. Financial conversations often revolve around investments. Which stock should I buy? Which business should I start? Where can I earn the highest return? But before investing comes saving. Without savings, there is nothing to invest. Imagine two individuals. The first consistently saves a significant portion of every paycheck. The second constantly spends everything, but occasionally finds excellent investments. Over time, the disciplined saver often builds more wealth. Why? Because saving creates the foundation for every future opportunity. The habit matters more than the strategy. The discipline matters more than the prediction. A person who learns to save has already solved one of the biggest financial challenges in life. And once savings begin accumulating, something extraordinary happens. Compounding enters the picture. Compounding is one of the most powerful forces in the financial world. But because it works slowly at first, many people underestimate it. Imagine planting a tree. You don't see dramatic growth during the first few days or weeks, sometimes not even during the first few years. Yet beneath the surface, growth is happening. Roots are expanding. Strength is developing. And eventually the growth becomes impossible to ignore. Money behaves in a similar way. Small amounts invested consistently over long periods can grow into remarkable sums, not because of magic, but because growth begins generating its own growth. This is why time is such a valuable asset. Many people admire successful investors and assume their success comes entirely from intelligence. But often, their greatest advantage was simply patience. The willingness to allow compounding to work for decades. The lesson is simple. Start early. Stay consistent. Give your money time, because time is often more powerful than talent. But here's an important question. Why do we want money in the first place? Most people immediately think of luxury, a larger house, a luxury car, expensive vacations. Yet the book argues that the greatest value of money is not luxury, it's freedom. Money gives you choices. The freedom to choose where you work. The freedom to spend more time with your family. The freedom to pursue meaningful goals. The freedom to walk away from situations that don't align with your values. When viewed this way, wealth becomes much more than a number. It becomes control over your life, and that may be the most valuable asset anyone can possess. Unfortunately, many people never experience this freedom because they become trapped by a dangerous idea. The belief that more is always better. More money, more status, more possessions, more recognition. The problem is that there is no finish line. No matter how much you have, someone else has more. History contains countless examples of people who accumulated enormous wealth yet still wanted more. They took bigger risks, made larger bets, ignored warning signs, and eventually lost everything. Not because they lacked intelligence, but because they never learned when enough was enough. Greed can destroy in months what discipline spent decades building. Knowing when to stop is one of the most underrated financial skills in existence. Another lesson from the book challenges the way we think about success itself. We often assume successful people succeeded purely because of skill, and unsuccessful people failed because of poor decisions. Reality is more complicated. Luck matters. Timing matters. Circumstances matter. Risk matters. This doesn't mean effort is unimportant. Hard work remains essential. But understanding the role of luck creates humility. It reminds us that success should never make us arrogant, and failure should never make us cruel. Because every financial story contains invisible factors. Understanding this makes us wiser, more grateful, and more compassionate. And because the future is uncertain, another critical lesson emerges. Prepare for uncertainty. Nobody knows exactly what the future holds. Economic crises happen. Jobs disappear. Industries change. Unexpected expenses arrive. Life is unpredictable. Instead of trying to predict every possibility, build resilience. Maintain emergency savings. Avoid excessive debt. Diversify investments. Create flexibility. The strongest financial plans are not the ones designed for perfect conditions. They are the ones designed to survive difficult conditions. And when building those plans, remember another important principle. Reasonable beats rational. On paper, some financial strategies look perfect. Maximum returns, maximum efficiency, maximum growth. But humans aren't spreadsheets. We are emotional beings. The best financial plan is often the one that allows you to sleep peacefully at night. A slightly lower return may be worth it if it reduces stress and anxiety. Because a strategy only works if you can stick with it. Consistency matters more than perfection, which leads us to perhaps the most underrated financial skill of all: patience. Modern culture celebrates speed, fast success, fast money, fast results. But lasting wealth rarely arrives quickly. Most financial success comes from small actions, repeated consistently over long periods. Saving regularly, investing steadily, avoiding unnecessary debt, living below your means. These habits may seem ordinary, but over decades they become extraordinary. Patience allows good decisions to accumulate. Patience allows compounding to work. Patience allows wealth to grow quietly in the background. And ultimately, patience separates temporary success from lasting success. Which brings us to the most powerful message in the entire book. Getting rich and staying rich are two completely different skills. Getting rich often requires courage, ambition, taking opportunities, taking calculated risks. But staying rich requires humility, patience, frugality, discipline, long-term thinking. Many people know how to make money. Far fewer know how to keep it. And perhaps that's why true wealth is so rare. In the end, financial success is not primarily about intelligence. It's not about predicting markets. It's not about finding secret opportunities. It's about behavior, the habits you build, the risks you take, the patience you practice, and the choices you make every single day. Because the greatest financial advantage isn't a higher salary. It isn't a better investment. It isn't a secret strategy. It's understanding how your own mind works. And once you understand that, you begin to understand money itself.